Okay, so I'm not going to be able to give this one the time it deserves for sure. These are kind of mini versions. But again, you're looking at our list of 9 that I talked about in the big session. This one, they're kind of in order for a purpose. So in this case, what are we holding people accountable to? Well, we just talked about both their behavior and their performance, not just one or the other. And as you look at this list of 9, even though we haven't been through all of them yet, some of you might think, well, this one would be easy for me. I love knowing my people and getting to know them. Or, man, I love training people, developing people. I think as we go through our sessions, we find that people struggle with some of these and some of them are more natural fits. There's no doubt, as I've said a couple of times, this one was the hardest for me as a leader for sure. Because I had a heart for people. I cared about people. I think the 20-some thousand people that have worked for me over the years, I literally don't think any one of them would say John Harrison was an a-hole, seriously. I'm honored by that, humbled by that. But there's no doubt early on they would have said, he's a good guy, but he does not hold people accountable. Because I just hoped it would get better by itself. You know, that's kind of like if there's a rattle in your vehicle or something, you go, maybe that'll just stop. Like maybe whatever part that is will fall off and I don't need it. Or maybe this hole in my roof where it's leaking, well, that'll just somehow like come together. It doesn't get better, I promise you. So it does start with setting clear expectations. Now, those of you that were just in the last session, this is why I think it's so important to have your expectations written down. I'm not saying we have to do this for you. We have lots of clients that we don't do this for them. But it's putting down the 9 expectations. It's putting down the I statements I just showed you. Like, we have employee handbooks in companies that says when you get my 3rd week of vacation and how does my 401k work and all that. This is not that. It's saying, how are we supposed to behave all day at work? And again, people will, in the interview, they'll go, yep, yeah, I'll do it. Yep, sure. I go, no, you might want to read through that. Like, we're really serious about this. So I wish as a supervisor I had that, to have these things written down. So we've got lots of clients that do it. And I think it's like Cranford, by the way, the bottom right is an asphalt company. So I didn't just throw that in there. But like, I think especially in manufacturing, construction, we don't do stuff like this. Okay. But I'm telling you, I know it's costing you time and money to have behaviors be erratic or not where you need them to be all day long. Now, we just talked about this chart. For those of you that weren't, how many of you were not in the last session? Okay, let me hit this real quickly. We want people to behave a certain way. I think those should be written down and explained. And I think we've got to measure people's results. Basically, what I'm guarding against is this. I would hear this at CAT sometimes. So let's say Sam works for me, and I go, Sam, you know what? I just don't think you're a star. And you go, well, why? Just a feeling. Just a feeling I have. Do not ever do that to people. I need to be able to say, Sam, I don't think you're a star right now because of a behavioral issue we're seeing and or performance, right? So we don't want anybody in the bottom left. Again, thanks for those of you that already went through this, but I have to do this. Top left people, they're behaving well but not performing well. The quality of their work isn't great. Their timeliness isn't great. Nice people, you got to deal with that. Much more likely in your industry, people are getting the job done. They are good, but they are not behaving appropriately. And both of those have to be dealt with because your stars are either going to quit or they will become one of those 2 people. That's all. It happens in every organization, and I wish you could quantify that. Now, I have to tell older people this. It wasn't that long ago, and younger people cannot grasp this. It wasn't that long ago if people wanted to look for work, like they were dissatisfied at their company, not too long ago, where did they have to go look to see where jobs were posted? A newspaper. What day of the newspaper? Sunday. And then how did you apply for a job not too long ago? In person, or they'd say, please send a cover letter and a resume. And young people are going, what? And you'd do all that stuff, and you'd send it off somewhere, and somebody would look at it, and then they'd go, well, we might want to interview this person. It was back and forth. But I want people to understand this. Anyone under the age of 30 probably, and maybe 40 nowadays, They have uploaded, most people have uploaded their information into Indeed or Monster.com or places like that, or if they haven't, they can do it in about 4 seconds. And young people will get pinged all day long with potential jobs. Now, some of those are scams, so be careful. But even if someone isn't really thinking about looking for a job, all of a sudden, ding, wow, that's $20,000 more than I make today. And like, it is not the old days, folks. And people, they're getting offers, and they're looking. And so more than ever, your stars in the year 2025 are going to look elsewhere. Or, like I said, if they don't look elsewhere, they will become top left, bottom right people. Here's what I would tell people if I was interviewing them today. If you come work for us, whatever the company name, we want you to be a star here. They go, what's that mean? We want you to behave well, and we're going to show you what behaviors we mean. Respect, teamwork, integrity, and what those actually look like in practice. And we're going to measure your results. It could be attendance. By the way, some companies, all they measure is attendance. That's it. People go, they seem to get pissed off if you're late, so I'll be here on time. They don't measure anything after that. They don't measure quality of my work or timeliness or anything like that, or safety, a lot of that stuff. So I would tell people, we're going to measure your work. Here's what we're going to measure, and we're going to measure your behavior, basically. Now, if I tell somebody that in an interview, what will they say in the interview? I like it. They'll go, actually, I am a star, so this is so great. It's a marriage made in heaven, like that's who I am. Now, if you drift from the box, the star box, if we see you drifting because of your results, so you're drifting to the left that way because your results are struggling, or we see you drifting south because your behavior is drifting, we're going to chat with you about that immediately. Not because we're jerks, because we care about you. And we also, by the way, care about all of our other employees. And we can't allow non-stars to be poisoning our stars. What will they say in the interview? I like it. You guys are like Chick-fil-A or something. I like it. Now, you'll never have to do that with me, they'll say. And if we have that conversation with you, we're going to document that conversation. Not because we're jerks. Not at all. Because we need to see change. At that point in the interview, they'll either go, of course, or they'll think to themselves, they won't say this out loud, I'm not working here. Because they are like Chick-fil-A. They seem to have high expectations. And I don't really want to align with that. Praise the Lord. That's when you want that decision to be made. But see, we don't tell people stuff like that. And really, the heart of the matter, all I can really talk about in our short time today is this, I think, and I'm going to have to do it pretty quickly at that. You have got to have difficult conversations if you're going to be a leader of people. And not just a leader of people. If you're going to be a spouse, or a parent, or a neighbor. This, I told you in the big room too, that the curriculum I wrote purposely should bleed over into your home life and vice versa. I sucked at this in my personal life. Many of us do, men probably more than women, to be honest. So I was married right out of school. That marriage ended in divorce. Now that's a long story. And really, because I wasn't a faith-based person at the time, I think that was really what sunk that marriage from the start. She wasn't either. But I always tell people this story, and we're not buddies yet, but we're going to get to be buddies real quick, so I'm going to be honest with you. If you had a closed-circuit TV watching my first marriage, you would have seen nothing that looked dysfunctional. No infidelity, no drugs, no alcohol, nothing within a million miles of the word abuse, verbal or otherwise. I promise you, and if my ex-wife was here, she would 100% agree with that. Well, then what happened? We didn't talk about stuff. And you go, yeah, isn't that nice when you don't actually talk about stuff? No, because it's like a tumor. It doesn't go away. And when we sat our girls down, the oldest two girls, and said, we're getting divorced, they were shocked out of their minds because they didn't feel dysfunction. Does that make sense? When they went to bed, we didn't scream at each other and throw stuff at each other. We just didn't talk. And I did my thing, and she did her thing. But when the girls were awake, it was good, so to speak. Now, I've had friends of mine whose parents got divorced, and they're like, yeah. Like, when the parents told them, they're like, yeah. Like, We saw this coming a long time ago. They weren't surprised. My kids were surprised. Well, I met this person named Jennifer 22 years ago. We've been married 20. We were dating. We had a little, I'd just call it like a tiff. It wasn't even a big argument. And we went to dinner the next night, and she said, hey, can we talk about that conversation we had yesterday? I didn't really like how that, and I didn't say this out loud. I wanted to go, you're the weirdest human being I've ever met in my life. I want to go, no, we don't talk about it. No, you stuff it. You just stuff it till it becomes a tumor and it breaks your chest open. That's what I wanted to say. But we talked about it, and it was so much better on the other side. And she knows I like sports, so she'll go, babe, we're wearing the same jersey. She always tells me that. We're on the same team. But see, we don't do this at work. We go, yeah, I don't want to talk about it because that's awkward. So I'll just leave it going. It's a tumor, folks. And your star employees are going, you're not going to have the conversation? People delay having these conversations. I'll do it next. Oh wait, we're at the thing in this convention center next week. I can't do it next week. How about next? Oh, I'm gone Tuesday night. Then it's like 3 months. You lost your shot. Happens at home and at work. Some people don't even pretend to delay them. They go, oh, I'm never going to have them. Just going to tell you right now. By the way, if you were interviewing with me to be a supervisor at my company, and you go, yes, see, I don't want to have difficult conversations, I would go, then you do not get the job. I understand you not wanting to have them. That's why we're going to try to help you have them. But you don't get to opt out. That's like the person on the fork truck that says, I don't want to wear my seatbelt. Yeah, we would not put up with that. Okay. You have to do these. But see, if I go, it's $15,000 a year and you get a truck or an office with a window, they go, love it. But you'll have to have difficult conversations. They go, yeah, I don't care. I don't want to do it. I go, how about $25,000? No. $45,000? No. Some people have them, but they erupt. Because I get people go, oh, I have them. I have them all day long. And I can tell where they've had them because there's dead bodies there and dead bodies there and shrapnel there. They go, see, it's good. Now, I did not do this on purpose. I told you I'm not a genius. Somebody said, John, that spells out the word die. Did you mean to do that? I go, no, I did not. So if that helps you remember, awesome. I didn't do that on purpose. This I'm 100% sure of. The most important thing, the reality of not having difficult conversations is people suffer. Your spouse, your kids, your mother-in-law, your customers, your coworkers, your vendors. I'm 100% sure of that. Now, for time, I'm just going to hit, usually in our sessions we have a lot of conversation about this, but I got to roll. So people tell me that the number one thing I hear often when I ask this in any industry, they go, oh, personal hygiene. How many of you have had to have a personal hygiene conversation with an employee? Okay, you put that on the job posting for supervisor. You go, you could say it's $30,000 a year and you get a truck, but you'll have to talk about body odor, and people go, I will not take this job. It's, by the way, I work in banking, I work in medical, and it happens everywhere. People go, I don't want to do that. Obviously, performance issues, quality of their work, timeliness, attendance, substance abuse on the job or off the job, and they come to work under the influence, difficult conversations. How many of you have sat across from somebody and actually fired somebody? And those of you that haven't raised your hand, you will at some point, thank you. You know what sucks about firing people? They go home about it and lie. Almost 99% true. So I used an example of the last session about owning your own landscaping company. So let's say Cole, sorry I have to pick on you guys, but my eyes only go so far. So Cole is the owner of the landscaping company. He has had 3 conversations with me about spewing negative stuff at work. He's had 2 conversations with me about having earbuds in while I mow, and I don't pay attention, and I've torn up 2 mower decks. And so Cole says to me, I think we're going to part ways. I have a client, by the way, when he fires people, he tells me, he says, I want to tell them, all I've done is made you available for other employment. That's how he likes to say it. So Cole says we're parting ways. I go home to Jennifer. Let's say it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She's like, babe, what are you doing home? I go, I got fired. Fired, yeah, fired, yeah. She goes, why? What happened? I go, you've heard me talk about Cole, right? Yeah. He's had it out for me since the day I started here. You know people say that, of course. Now, I'm not saying that's never happened in the history of the workplace. I don't think it's happening a lot. You know why people say that? Because what if I went, well, babe, here's why I got fired. Because Cole's had 3 conversations with me about me spewing negative stuff at work. And then 2, I was not paying attention when I mowed, and I tore up $15,000 worth of mower decks. And I don't know about your significant other, but I know mine. And she would go, then why did you let that happen? Why did you put our family at risk for such controllable behavior? See, people don't like to have that conversation at home. I'd rather go, bad man. And then let's say the next day, Jennifer sees Cole. Now, she's not met him, but she kind of knows what he looks like. And she sees him at the grocery store, and she could go, I've heard about you. Our children are starving now because of you. You're a terrible, terrible person. You can't have that conversation in the grocery store, folks. You want to. You go, can we go grab coffee? Because I'd love to tell you about what's really going on here. Firing people is incredibly difficult. Laying off people, to me, is worse than firing them for cause, by far. Why? They didn't do anything. I had a husband and wife in the plant, North Carolina, that were going through a divorce, and the divorce was playing out on the shop floor every freaking day. Yelling at each other, people taking sides. I didn't want to deal with that, but I had to. We could go on. And I won't even ask you what types of difficult conversations you need to have at home, because I'm not going to pry. Some of you probably needed to have talked to your mother-in-law 12 years ago. You go, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it next time. This is the phrase that I wanted to leave you with today that saved my life. At home and at work, it's pretty easy to see because I made the font really big. Think about people being like a gauge. We want people in the green. So let's say we're having a little pre-shift, start of the day huddle. And I go, hey, everybody, let's be excellent out there today. And Steve goes, yeah, that'll be a first. And everybody starts laughing. Excuse me, I'm not ready to fire Steve for that, of course. What happens if I just walk away, though, and he and I don't chat about that? What could happen? All that. I've set a new expectation. People go, wow. Steve goes, I kind of got some laughs this morning, got a little attention. Other people go, I think I'm going to try that too. Now, this is what I want to leave you with also, simple pictures. If you drop a lit match in the forest, is it possible that lit match just extinguishes itself and there's no problem? Is that possible? What else could happen? Wildfire. I had to train my brain, folks, to think wildfire every time. Because here's why. Okay, let's go back to this. Let's say, what's your name, sir?
Benji.
Sorry?
Benji.
Benji? Benji, sorry. Benji's my boss. I tell Benji about Steve's little sarcastic comment. Benji goes, well, did you talk to him about it? I go, no, Benji, it's okay. It was a one-off. He was fine. I got it. 2 weeks later, he goes, hey, whatever happened with that thing? I go, I told you. And I'm certain he's never done it again. No one else has ever done it again. I go, chill out, dude. I got control of my team. That's very possible. What else is possible is I come back like 3 days later and go, oh, Benji, I got a big problem. Everybody's doing it. It's chaotic. I think we need to fire Steve. I mean, I can't. It's like a wildfire. I train my brain every time, think wildfire. Now, to get awkward, it's not that awkward. I said, let's be excellent out there today, and Steve said that'll be a first. I'm not going to pull him one-on-one into my office or whatever and go, hey, don't ever make sarcastic comments again or you're fired. That's worthless. What should I ask him? Why'd you say that? That's not that awkward. What if he goes, well, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said it like that in the morning with everybody standing around, but that bobcat's been down for like a month. Is that thing ever going to get fixed? It's driving me nuts. Well, first of all, is that a valid frustration? Of course. So I go, oh, you're frustrated. He goes, yep. I go, well, don't ever be frustrated again. I'll write you up. I took care of that. No, I didn't take care of that. Of course he's going to get frustrated again. What would you coach him on? Maybe he didn't address it earlier. But what's the issue with what he did in the morning meeting? Why do you care that he spewed that in front of everybody at 7 o'clock? Might kill morale. And using my water bottle example, in 3 seconds, Steve might have taken 2 inches out of everybody's water bottle. Because people go, yeah, you know what? I kind of came in a good frame of mind. Rob's like, this place does suck. How about the internet in the office? That sucks too. I go, oh, shoot. I should have dealt with that. But that's not a real awkward conversation. Now, maybe I'm a new supervisor. I'm new to the company. I don't even know about the Bobcat thing. Because to your point, I go, why didn't you surface it earlier? He goes, what? Look at this. He goes, I turned in a maintenance ticket here, 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 here. I've called him, emailed. I've gotten zero response from maintenance. Okay. I still am going to talk to him about his sarcastic comment. But I need to dig in a little bit. What if he goes, no, I haven't told him about it. Those idiots never fix anything around here. I don't like that statement. See, I think some of you get so busy, you go, I don't have time for conversations like this. Okay. I promise you're wasting a lot more time than having these conversations. And 10 people heard what Steve just said, and we took 2 inches of water out of their bottles. I wish you could quantify that. So that's not that awkward, right? And now, if Steve has been a good employee, and let's say he was a little extra frustrated this morning. Steve has been a good employee. He was kind of going the wrong direction. After he and I chat about that, what will he likely do? He'll go back to the green. What % of your employees want to keep their jobs, would you say? If you had to guess. Real close to 100? You might have a drifter just coming through town or something. But most of the time, I think they want to keep their jobs. Basically, what you have to do, in my opinion, being so bad at this early on, you have to let people know that you've noticed something and talk to them about it. And most people go, I guess I probably should fix that. Now, if I say don't be frustrated again and walk away, no, because that's ridiculous. Of course he's going to be frustrated. But now I think Steve goes, okay, so John is not cool with me blasting negative stuff in front of the room in the morning. I bet you he'll stop that. Now I'm going to document that he and I had that conversation. Why? Just in case. I don't think it'll happen again. By the way, if it happens again, red flag, folks. These are reasonable conversations. For me, what I had to learn, another picture, if you need a picture in your brain, it's like playing tennis. I'm going to hit the ball back over the net to Steve, and I want to see how Steve handles this. And most people will fix it. But 2 days later, he goes, yeah, this place sucks. I'm like, I just talked to him about this. If that's going on, he is hurtling towards the red. And it's not going to end well. But see, I think you got to talk about this stuff in the interview, all of that. Nope, warm bodies, just bring them in. Oh my gosh, okay. Before you have the conversation, maybe with your mother-in-law, not just work. Little real life tips, because I was so bad at these. You got to prepare. You go, John, please tell us, how long should we prepare? I don't know. Just don't go in unprepared. Don't let a consultant go, you should prepare for 40 minutes. It's BS. There's too many variables. Consultants try to tell you, this is how you do it. Like, come on. By the way, those of you that have had babies and children and you read parenting books, you go, it's all right here. It's all here. Just read the book. And like after a couple months, you're going, this wasn't in the book? No, it's not all in the book. And most people didn't have books for decades upon decades upon decades. So you got to prepare. Don't go in unprepared, because it always goes poorly with your mother-in-law or your teenager or whatever. If it requires a meeting, get a meeting scheduled. Steve, are you available tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock? And here's why. I want to tell them why. I don't love surprise attack meetings. I would see this happen at CAT. What's your name? Emily. This would happen at CAT. Emily, I need to see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. You go, what about just be here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock? What's wrong with that? They always think the worst. They're not going, Emily's going, I'm getting promoted tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I can feel it. She's going to go home and go, I think I'm getting fired. Don't play with people like that. I know you're not purposely trying to play with people like that, but that's what you do. I would go, no, Steve, if you're available at 9, great. I want to talk about that comment you made in our morning meeting. The why could be something like this. It could be, hey, Rob, I just want to check in with you because I feel like the last week or so you've been a little off. Just want to make sure everything's okay with you. What if Rob goes, that's why you want to talk to me? Yes, I just want to check in with you. Really? Well, if you got something to say to me, why the blankety blank would we wait till tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock? Let's go. You got something to say to me, say it. Should I do it right then? Why not? he's fired up and I'm unprepared, that is a really bad combination. Also with your significant other or your mother-in-law or your teenager. But what if Rob says, wow, I can't believe you just came to me. I was just getting ready to come to you. There's no doubt I've been off this week. My dad's pretty sick, and we think his cancer's back, and I know I've been distracted. And so, yeah, I'd love to kind of get that off my chest. Now, if Rob says something like that, could I potentially have the meeting with him before tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock if he's in that mindset? I would say yes if I'm still prepared. If I'm not prepared, I still wouldn't do it because I want to have some examples. Or maybe I go, man, the way my days, I'm just slammed today. But I can still say thank you so much for coming to me in that mindset. See, this is where you can't listen to a consultant because there's 100 variables on this stuff. You have to ask yourself some questions before I meet with whoever. What's my purpose? My purpose with Rob is just to check in on him. It's a very different purpose. My purpose with Steve is to stop a behavior I've noticed. You got to get this right. If you don't get that right, it will not go well, I promise you, with your mother-in-law also. If it's a behavioral issue, what's the actual behavior? Now, let me give you a million real-life examples in my head. I'm having one of these little huddles we talked about. I'm a new supervisor, and one of my gentlemen decides not to stand in the circle. I know you've never seen this behavior before. Leaning against the wall like 20 feet away or 30 feet away from everybody else on the team. Okay, you're going to think this is silly. I'm getting ready to meet with this gentleman. What behavior am I going to ask him about when we're together? How would you word it? What's that? Yeah, so why are you not being part of the team? What'd you say?
Appearing withdrawn.
Appearing withdrawn. I like the word appearing. I've had people say, why are you not a team player? Why are you disrespectful? Now, let me tell you, as a young supervisor, what I assumed was, and sometimes assuming gets you in trouble, I assumed he was kind of showing me up, testing me a little bit. So let's say I bring him in my office, and I go, hey, why were you showing me up this morning? He goes, what? You know, when you're leaning against the wall. He goes, oh, yeah, you're new here. I had back surgery 6 weeks ago, and the doctor told me I'm supposed to lean against the wall and not stand unsupported during these conversations. Damn it. I go, sorry. Okay, have a good day. Now, that's not likely. What if I say, why are you not a team player? What is every employee going to say in response to that? Yes, I am. Why are you being disrespectful? I'm not. As soon as you accuse of anything, they're going to, even if you're 100% right, they're going to be able to poke holes in that. Go, that's not true. He could say, well, I was feeling like the flu was coming on this morning, so I decided to stand over there so I didn't get the whole team sick. Now, he could be lying. But if you go, why are you disrespectful? He goes, disrespectful? I was doing the exact opposite. So you go down that path, you are screwed. I'm telling you. So my first question I'm going to ask is pretty simple. Could you please explain why were you standing there instead of here? It's a whole different question. Now, in my case, he said, I can hear you from over there. I went, okay. Now, I'm just getting ready for it. But I think I like the word appear or a vibe. Because I could say, you're giving off an appearance of not being a team player. You're giving off appearance of, but that's different than going, you are being disrespectful or you're not a team player. So I think there's two questions to ask. What's the behavior in question? And then the next question is, what's the impact? So let me ask you this. Why do you care if somebody is standing there instead of the circle? What are some possible reasons? Why do you care? Because if you don't care, then don't have a conversation. Why do you care? What's one reason? What's that? You're giving off the appearance of not being engaged. Because if you say you're not engaged, you go, I heard everything you said. I'm engaged. Possible. What else? Why do you care if they're there instead of here?
Wrong message to the rest of the team.
The other team's watching. It could be giving off a wrong message. That's different than saying you're being disrespectful when you don't give a crap about our team. Because they'll go, yes, I do. Is it, at a minimum, is it distracting? Because then people go, what's he doing? Of course, nowadays they'll go, does he have COVID? Maybe he's got COVID. I mean, it's like, no good. Now, he said, I can hear you. But what if Emily asks a question in our circle meeting and he doesn't hear Emily's question because she has a quieter voice? Is that a problem that he doesn't hear her question? Yes. Just take the time to understand what's the behavior and why do you care. And you already told me, I think if Steve makes his little comment in front of the whole team, he might have taken 2 inches out of 20 people's bottles in 30 seconds. That's a problem. You have to ask yourself this: have I contributed in any way to this issue? And that could be where you bump into somebody on a job site. I go, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this for me. Can you do that? Thank you so much. I got to run. And the second of those third things doesn't go well. And you have to ask yourself, I was probably part of that. I didn't give clear instructions. I was in a hurry. I'm not saying to make something up. If you're not part of the problem, then don't say it. But many times we are part of the problem. And at home, you probably were part of the problem. Just guessing. It's usually not likely that only one person is part of the problem at home. Usually. And you have to ask yourself this: for some reason right now, am I more emotional than I need to be right now when I have this conversation? It could be a 100-degree day or a 100-degree week, and you're toast. Or the Gamecocks just got slaughtered or something, and you're pissed off. Like, not a good time. The guy that had the office next to me in Tokyo, I'll never forget this. He came over to ask me some advice about having a conversation with a woman that worked for him, and he was kind of pacing around my office like this. He went, I'm telling you, I'm not looking forward to meeting with her. He went, man, she reminds me of my ex-wife. And I went, I don't think you should have that conversation. And he went, why? I went, because you're yelling at me too, and I have nothing to do with it. I said, A, she's not your ex-wife, and B, I think you're bringing a little baggage. Now, that doesn't mean you wait a month, but sometimes you go, I'm not doing this right this second. My youngest daughter worked at Starbucks. She used to close Starbucks like 3 to 11, and we were blessed with 3 very low-maintenance girls overall, I would say. But if we had to talk to Grace about something that didn't go well or something she failed to do or whatever, we figured out 11:30 at night wasn't the best time to do that. Why? She's tired. We're tired. We didn't wait a month, but we'd say, hey, we need to do that tomorrow morning. You got to ask, right now, is this not the right time? You have to ask yourself, how might the person respond? Now, they'll surprise you sometimes. But in like Steve's case, I can go, you know what? Steve's been a good employee. Obviously, that was out of character for him a little bit this morning to spew that out there. I'm guessing he's got a valid concern, and he's probably just having a bad day. I'm going to go into this conversation assuming that he's going to handle it very well. Now, he could surprise me. He could flip the chair over and storm out of the office. But that's why know your people is one of our 9 expectations. You kind of got to go, how are they going to respond? Because some people, you have difficult conversations, and they'll just do this. Arms folded, don't even look at you. I had a guy once, like if I'm sitting that way, he would go like this. I'm like, really? They don't teach you stuff like. I had a person in my session go, now should you go follow him around the room? I go, no, don't go like, okay, I'm going to come up, because they'll just keep spinning around, so don't do that. But like, some people will get pissed off. Some people will blame other people immediately. It's not my fault. You're talking to me about that? You never talked to Joe about. Just get ready. If they do this, here's how I'm going to handle that. Now, let me give you a silly example that happened in our house. We had a couple over for dinner. This is a couple years ago. And they had 2 kids, like 5 and 3. I'm telling you, this helps at home. The wife at the dinner table said, hey, can we ask you something because your kids are grown now? We went, yep. And she said, his parents are driving us nuts. And, of course, when I looked at his face, I don't feel it. He felt the exact same. But she went, his parents are driving us nuts. And we said, what's going on? She said, they live here in town, which we love, but they come over like 3 times a week, and every time they come over, they bring our kids stuff from like Dollar General or blah, blah, blah. It's driving us nuts. And, of course, we just asked some follow-up questions. Well, why? She said, well, 2 things. She said, when his parents come over, the kids don't even like see their grandparents' space. They go, where's the stuff? And they go, we don't want that relationship with their grandparents. And she said, the second problem is the stuff. She goes, we got the crap. And it wasn't even about the dollar value. She's like, we just don't want all this stuff. So I said to the husband, how did your parents respond when you had this conversation? What do you think I heard? We have not had that conversation. I go, how long has this been going on? Like 5 years. I said, how might they respond? He said, I'll tell you, they'll probably never come see our kids again. Do you think that's an accurate response? I don't think so. This happens at work. Have you talked to so-and-so about their mouth? Have you talked to so-and-so about not wearing their safety glass? No, but because they could quit. And we can't afford to lose. Okay. I don't think they're going to quit every time you have a conversation with them. So he kind of calmed down. I said, now, you really don't think your parents will ever come see your kids again? He went, well, it's probably not accurate. But he said, but their feelings could be hurt. Well, that's very different on the spectrum of feelings. Like their feelings could be hurt, or they'll never visit your children for the rest of their lives. And I think we catastrophize things. I do. So we just kind of worked through it, and we said, I don't know, you could say something like this. If you have this burning desire to spend money on our children, here's some alternatives. Like what? Bank account. If you have a burning desire to bring them things on occasion, we're fine with that, but we would prefer you bring them books. Because books is non-screen time, and when they're done with the books, we can donate books. But I'm sharing this with you because we've all had these situations in our lives where we don't handle things really well. This stuff, again, you don't have to have a PhD. I'm sharing you my pain because it hurt my first marriage big time. It hurt my time at Caterpillar. During the conversation, I would open up the conversation in an inviting way, something like this. Hey, Steve, second bullet, I want to talk about that comment you made at our morning meeting. I want to hear your side of that first, and then I want you to hear my side after that. I think it's really critical that you hear the other person first. I really do. Because the way these feel a lot are like this. Steve, sit down. Okay, what the blankety blank were you thinking this morning when you mouthed up? That's never going to go well. It's not weak to ask Steve's side of it first. What if Steve says, John, I know I shouldn't have said that at our morning meeting, but I got a text right before the meeting that my daughter was in a car accident, and I think she's fine, but man, I was totally out of it. Well, that changes that whole conversation. But here's what's cool, folks. Even in that situation where it changes the whole conversation, Steve still notices that I noticed his comment. Let the other person go first. Because I think what we do as human beings, we assume intent a lot. I go, I know why you did that. You're still pissed you didn't get that supervisor job from a year. Of course, even if that's true, they're never going to let you think that's true. He's going to go, that's not true at all. So I always think letting the other person go first, but then I'm telling him right up front, but I want you to hear my side of it too. So what I could say is, oh my gosh, you sure your daughter's okay? Do you need to leave? I can have that conversation, but then I can go, now you understand why I had to say that. Because when you spout something off like that in the morning, it affects the team. That's why I had to say that. It gives me a chance to explain myself, but I let him go first. Does that make sense? Man, this is hard for us as human beings. This just says try to understand the other perspective. Because we get real nervous about this. Because we go, does that mean I have to agree with the other perspective? No. What if you have a new employee and they tear up a tool or a piece of machinery? And I go, hey, nice going. I heard about that. Do you know how much that stuff costs? I hate when people say stuff like that. It is so demeaning to people. At Caterpillar, they go, do you know what one of our machines costs? And they do. Do you know that we're behind on shipments? They do. Like, no, I knew it and I didn't care. I purposely broke machinery today just to piss everybody off. Now, you told me people don't make mistakes on purpose. But I'd go, hey, I heard we had a problem on the so-and-so job site today. Tell me what happened from your side of it. Well, we were doing so-and-so, and I thought I could use that tool on that material, but obviously it didn't because it was totally different material, and it tore up this. So you don't go, okay, awesome. Okay, good. It's fine if you tear up our equipment. That's not what you're saying. But you go, I understand why you thought you could have used that tool in that situation. But if you're not sure about that, always talk to Cole about stuff like that because he knows, you know what I'm saying? Like we come in like, hey, stupid, nice going. Usually doesn't go well. There'll be emotions. For you folks, it'll generally be anger with people. And you got to get ready for that. I heard this phrase about 1 million times in my life at Caterpillar. Well, this is just bull. I would just be honest and just be calm and go, now what part of this is bullshit? Our policy itself or the fact that I'm talking to you about it? Because it's usually only one of those two things. Just stay calm and ask them, what do you mean it's BS? Well, I think it's stupid that we have to wear safety glasses like in that corner of the factory because there's less chance for eye injuries there than over there. And I might go, you're right. There's different levels. But I would say, you know what we don't want people doing is walking through our factories going high risk, low risk, high risk, low risk. So we have a wall-to-wall policy. And I will say this real quick. Older people, I think you get very irritated when young people ask why. Because many of you grew up in an era of because I said so. And that answer is fine sometimes, but it's really not a great answer. Because I will tell you, I don't care if someone's 20 or 60. I believe they have to ask why in a respectful way. If I say, Jeff, why do we have this stupid policy, you moron, stupid? Well, that's not respectful. But if I go, hey, Jeff, could you please explain why we have to fill out this paperwork? I don't think that's disrespectful. There were times I wanted to ask, my dad was a great guy. He had a temper, but most of the time a great guy. I wanted to ask him sometimes, like he'd say, I need you to do this, this, and this, and of course I did it. But sometimes I wanted to say, well, could I do that before that? But you know what I thought to myself? You just don't ask. But I think there was times I could have learned something. If he said, well, the reason I have you do that first, I'd go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then finally, ending the conversation. Now, normally we go into more detail. We watch a video of a difficult conversation. We're not able to do this in these little short segments. But don't end these conversations without clearly expressed action items. And here's why. I saw this happen all the time. So Steve, starting tomorrow, could you just please be more professional? Thank you. What's wrong with that sentence? What's professional mean? I don't know what it means. It means all different things to different people. I would go, Steve, there's no doubt you will have other frustrations in this company, but starting tomorrow, I do not want you to spread those frustrations in front of the whole group at 7 o'clock in the morning. That is a lot different than be more professional. You might tell somebody, could you just be a little more safety focused? Worthless. I need you to wear your vest. I need you to wear PPE. Whatever it is, get clear about it. So that would be you telling your mother-in-law, could you stop being so annoying? Like that probably won't go well. I mean, you can if you want to take that nugget with you, you can take that too. But you could say, when you come over and you do X, that puts us in a difficult position, or it's a confusing message to the kids, or whatever it is. It's no different than, growing up, and some of you may be guilty of this now, and your kid asks you to do something, and you go no, and they go ask the other person, and the other person says yes. And amazingly, kids can figure that out. So instead of blowing up in front of your kids, you probably need to go talk privately with that other adult in the room and go, you know what, we can't be doing that. This was awesome. Sometimes your kids actually pay attention. So my youngest daughter just got married this last summer, and my son-in-law now, they were over for dinner. And Grace at dinner said, hey, you know what really pissed me off growing up? I go, well, here we go. I go, really? In front of Ben, you're going to do this? But she went, because you and Mom were always on the same page. And she was laughing because she said, it pissed me off when I was a teenager, but I totally get it now. She said, I could never go to one of you. Does that make sense? Now, we messed up in lots of ways. I'm just telling you. But sometimes, that's happening. Let me ask you this before we end. Is it possible in your organization there is a lack of consistency in how people are being held accountable? 1,000% yes. Do people notice it? 1,000% yes. And you will never have the culture you want unless you fix that. And I was guilty of this. And let me just share this last story. I was a young supervisor, and I went to my team. Let's say it's this table here. And I went, hey, you know that stupid rule we have at Caterpillar? You go, yes. I'm not going to make you guys do that. We go, man, we love working for Jim. He is awesome. I go, I know. Now let's say Emily is holding her people accountable to that exact same rule. I just threw Emily under the bus big time by me saying it's cool and you don't have to do it. I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus. I didn't come to work and go, how can I throw Emily under the bus today? But that happens all the time at work. And I think sometimes you do it because you think you're cool and you don't want to mess with it, and you're the fun boss or the whatever boss. Like, I think we think that our number one priority, like when I was a supervisor, when I was young, I thought, you know what my number one priority is? My team right here. You guys are my number one priority. And I had to figure out, no, it's the leadership team. All the other supervisors, that's my number one team. We got to be on the same page. So some of you may have to go back to work, seriously, and fix some things. Because I don't think you probably did it on purpose, but you're hurt the rest of the team big time. You got to document. You go out, again, you go, I don't want to do that part. Then I don't think you get to be a supervisor. It's like wearing your seatbelt. If you don't know how to do that, please ask somebody. Don't just not do it. And then I always had follow-up meetings after my difficult conversations. Why? Check in. And I will tell you, if you get awkward early, 95% of these follow-up meetings will be positive. Really appreciate it, Steve, ever since we talked to you that you've been not doing that thing in the morning. Thank you so much. Now, Monday, my guy was leaning against the wall. I had my difficult conversation with him on Monday, not so difficult. Tuesday, he got in the circle. Did I have my follow-up meeting with him that Tuesday and go, you are doing awesome, that's so fantastic, that's amazing? Why not? Too soon. I waited like 10 days. And when I did, his eyes got very big because he went, wow, you didn't forget. When you were a teenager, you wanted your parents to forget stuff, and they usually didn't. Monday there, Tuesday here. What if Wednesday he goes back there again? Do I wait 10 days on that one? Instantly. Red, green gauge. If they do that after you have a reasonable conversation, they do it again, that's probably not going to end well. Okay, we got to pass by that. I showed in the first group, you saw this. I have I statements kind of to help explain these things. Here's just a couple. I think it's important for you to say, I hold people accountable to your organization's expectations. This is why I think it helps to have this stuff written down. I used to say the word my. I go, hey team, these are my expectations. It's not a terrible thing, but what can be wrong with me saying these are my expectations? Yours are different than that person, and yours are higher than the company. I would go, no, it's the organization's expectations. It's a really subtle change that will help. I don't care if you do regular performance reviews or these are casual conversations. Please don't let there be surprises with people. No one should be surprised by their performance. By the way, this is another area. How many of your organizations do performance reviews of some kind? And it's funny, when I work with companies, I'll have people in the room and I go, do you guys do them? They go, kind of. I go, what do you mean kind of? I haven't had one for 5 years. I had a guy the other day went, I haven't had one. My boss hasn't given me one in 7 years. And I went, so are you giving them to your people? No, but I went, then start doing them. Like can't always control above you. I state the consequences of failing to meet expectations. Now, I promise you, if you get awkward early and all the stuff we talked about, I think you'll have a lot less of this. I don't want you to have a write-up culture. I'm writing you up, I'm writing you up, I'm writing you up. That is not a good culture. High standards, get awkward early. By the way, I'll just leave with this story. 3-year-olds can figure out when there's no consequences. There is a parenting style now that did not exist when I was young, where parents count to 10. And we make fun of that sometimes. That can work beautifully if what happens when you get to 10? Something. But most 3-year-olds will go, well, see, mom counts to 10 twice. Dad counts to 10 once, then he starts to count to 10 a second time, then he goes and watches football. So the count to 10 thing, they go, is a joke. Now, I was at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. I was at Caterpillar. There was a child, and he's now probably 30 years old. His name was Jeremy, because I will never forget Jeremy. Because we were sitting in the gate, a bunch of us, and Jeremy was not a baby. Jeremy was about 4, 5, and Jeremy was crawling around in the gate area. He knocked over 2 people's coffees. He stepped on somebody's computer, and we're all looking at the parents. And by the way, my gate, they were at the Orlando gate, which is very important, because they had ears on and stuff. Okay. Now, you know in the September 11th story where the plane that went down in Pennsylvania where people said, let's roll. Well, we were watching Jeremy, everybody around the gate, and we were all looking at each other like, let's roll. Let's take Jeremy out, because the parents are not dealing with Jeremy, and it's driving us freaking crazy. So anyway, the mom is going, Jeremy, please stop crawling around. You just kicked that nice man's coffee. And he'd be like, yeah, whatever. And we're going, oh my gosh. And then this was the kicker. She said, if you don't stop doing that, we are not going to Disney World. And we all went, I think you are, because you're here at the airport, and you're wearing the ears, and you've paid for the tickets. It is a worthless phrase. And I'm telling you, there's some things in our personal lives we can look at work, and people go, you don't mean that. You say that every time. Nothing ever happens. Thank you for those of you that hung out with me for all 3 meetings today. You're a glutton for punishment. I meant this when I was in the big room. I don't take this for granted. I'm so honored that I got asked to do this, especially when no one even knew who I was. Again, Jason took a huge risk by having me come and having never heard me speak. I hope you learned something today. I hope some of my failings helped you along the way. I know how difficult your jobs are. Leadership is incredibly difficult, which is why we need to train people on it and give them support. So thank you all very much. Hope it's not the last time I see you, but thank you so much.